name is John Boesky, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also a master neuro-linguistic programmer, NLP, and also a certified hypnotherapist.
Well, I always tell the guys that, and just people that ask, that MMA is a extremely challenging sport. Not just physically but mentally. I mean,
Right.
They train 8 to even 12 weeks for a fight, and the fight could last, 7 seconds. I think is the record. So, from a psychological standpoint, that's got to be a ton of stress, or a lot to bear. So, do you do things differently with an MMA athlete that you may do with a different professional athlete because of that fact?
Well, that's a great question. When it comes to team sports, I think that there's like a diffusion of responsibility, and there's an interdependence, and so there's less pressure. Generally, though, when I work with mixed martial artists, MMA guys, I do work with them in ways that are very similar and that are parallel to working with other athletes who participate in individual sports, tennis, golf, swimming, etc. You bring up a really good point, though, about MMA guys and the UFC and Bellator and all of that. I don't know how they do it. These guys, you're right, they train for 12 weeks
Right.
or even throughout the year. But for each fight, it could end in seconds. Plus, they're putting their bodies and limbs on the line. And they've got families to support, and the money isn't that great. And so the only difference with mixed martial artists and other athletes is the amount of pressure. I mean, it's really, really intense, and that would be the major difference.
Could you provide us with maybe a sample exercise, if you will, that you may do with either MMA athlete or any sort of athlete?
Sure. There are a lot of exercises I do with athletes, and one that I can, I'll just explain and share is something called anchoring, which is an NLP technique. And to create an anchor is really finding or pairing or linking a stimulus with a state. So I'll just quickly explain, if you don't mind. But there was a guy named Pavlov, and Pavlov, fed these dogs, and these dogs would be salivating and getting really into it and eating, and it was scrumptious. And then at the peak of that, he would ring a bell. And so he then fed these dogs again. I don't know if it was Alpo or what, but these dogs were just salivating, and then they were at the peak of the experience, and boom, he rang the bell. What happened was, about a week into it, all he would need to do is ring the bell, and the dogs had made this neurological link, this association between the bell and the state of loving the food. And he'd ring the bell, and the dogs would start salivating, even when there was no food there. And so what I do with athletes in terms of anchoring is I'll get them into to create that link, I'll get them into a peak state, having them recall a time when they've, first of all, ask them what their ideal performance state is. In what state do they want to perform? Let's say it's when they're really, really calm. I'll ask them to recall a time when they felt really calm. Maybe it's a time they were on a hammock at home somewhere. I'll have them go back, bathe their senses, see what they saw, hear what they heard, feel what they felt. And when they're at the peak of that experience and really just basking in that, I'll introduce a stimulus. It could be a touch, a sound. It could be something visual. It could be a word. It could be the word calm. So here they are, they're very calm, and they might then, at the peak of that, say the word out loud to themselves, calm or relaxed. And what happens is, after a while, you condition the brain to make this neurological link between that state and the word, and then you create an anchor. And suddenly, they're about to go into the octagon, they want to feel calm, and they call on their anchor, their cue. They say calm, and there's a feeling, a wave of calm that comes up, just like there was a wave of salivation that came up with the dogs when they heard the bell.